One of the most challenging things in parenting in today's world is dealing with all the technology, the screens, the devices, the social media. Hi, I'm Jonathan Brozozog, and I want to welcome you to the Home Team Podcast. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about how do we as parents not protect our kids from technology, but prepare them for technology. So I want to encourage you, subscribe today to the Home Team Podcast, and let's up our parenting because winning begins at home. Hey, I want to welcome our listeners back today as we discuss device over usage in the modern age. Everyone has a cell phone today, and I do remember life before cell phones. I'm really dating myself. I do remember life before the internet, and it was quite a completely different world. And so I remember the first time I saw the internet, it was after church on a Wednesday night. Billy had it. We're going. Who are you riding with? We're all going to go see it. And to hear that sound, you guys remember that sound that it would make? And then, because it was through the phone line, and then that page slowly would load up, and that's the internet. There it is. And I remember my first cell phone was huge. It came like a suitcase. Every time I used it, it looked like I was calling it a missile strike. Echo, Bravo, Charlie. It was just nuts. And now, not just cell phones, but they're smartphones, and we're on that all day. I think the average time a teenager is on their phone is literally 7 to 8 hours a day. And so this is a topic that we really do need to discuss. It is a topic that is, even in our family, how do we handle this? How do we navigate that with teenagers? The average age a kid is getting phones now is around age 8. And so I want to give you guys some tips and some suggestions and some of the things that we're trying as mom and dad and parents of 8 children and teenagers and young adults and all that in our home, how we're navigating phones as well. And so, there's a lot of big brother apps and things that are out there that are, hey, I caught you doing this, I caught you doing that. But when we started getting asked, by our kids, hey, can I have a phone? When can I get a phone? Because every kid had phones. I remember taking my son and my 2 sons, we went to Disney, and we're in line at Space Mountain. And I don't know, there must have been a school, like the whole school was there. It was like me and literally like 1,000 junior hires. And I looked around the line while we're waiting in line for Space Mountain. Every single kid in line was on their phone. Every single kid, except my kid, because he didn't have a smartphone at the time. And so I'm like, what is going on here? Every single kid is on their phone, and it just like really stood out. And there's such a pressure. Like, if you don't have a smartphone, something's wrong with you. If you don't have a smartphone, like, it's weird. If you're not looking at your phone, you're not cool, and you're totally disconnected. Because I think it was like the stat I read said like 85% of all their communications are done through text. When 2 teenagers come to our church and they didn't know each other, attended the same church, and they see each other across the room, they don't walk up to him and talk to him. They text him, hey man, I see you there. And afterwards, like, did you talk to him? No, I text him. But you were in the same room. You didn't walk up to him after church and talk to him. No, I just sent him a text. It's a totally different form of communication. And we had to learn how to communicate online. We had to learn that as parents. If you're my age, I'm 46 at the time of filming this, but our kids are having to learn to communicate offline. And I think that's one of the things that we need to navigate. One of the rules that we have in our home are, no cell phones at the table. We're going to have dinner. We're not going to be at the phones. I watch people that go out to restaurants. Everybody's on their phone. They're alone together. The Mayo Clinic says the average family spends minutes together a day. Minutes. I'm not talking about like under the same roof. I'm talking about like engaging, talking. And sometimes, we get in the car. We're not even talking. You say, well, I'm not an absentee father. You don't have to leave home to be absent. You can be in the car and be absent. You can be in the living room and be absent. You can be at the dinner table and be absent. And so we need to be not perfect parents. God's not called us to be perfect, but God has called us to be present. What can we do to be present and available and not having our head down in a phone for hours and hours and hours and ignoring the children that God gave us. I'm telling you guys, it happens so quick. They grow up so fast. And again, I've said it in other episodes, children are terrible at doing what you ask them to do, but they're amazing at doing what they see you do. They want a phone because they see you on a phone. They want to, engage you, but you're on a phone. I remember we went to Disney, and we went to Typhoon Lagoon. We had never been to Typhoon Lagoon, and we're there with some friends and all of our kids, and we're looking for a place there close to the water, and we find these seats right in the front. Like, look at this. This is amazing. Like, what favor from God. So we put all our stuff down the front. We're sitting there, and then all of a sudden we hear this like noise, like this siren goes off, and we're like, what's that? What's that about? And we hear this like thump, and all of a sudden this massive wave, hint, Typhoon Lagoon, this typhoon starts coming at us. And then sure enough, there's a reason all these chairs are empty in the front, is because the water comes all the way up there. That wave washed all of our stuff. This was before, iPhones were waterproof. So my phone got soaked. And anyway, I didn't have it for the rest of the day. And I remember being at dinner that night with our kids and our friends, and everybody got on their phones except me and the kids. And they're coloring. All the adults are on their phone, and I'm sitting there without a phone. And it dawned on me how terrible of experience this is, that we take our kids through all the time when mom and dad are on their phones and they're just sitting at the table. They're not looking at anything. They're not watching videos. They're not somewhere else. They're at the table, but we're not at the table. We are not present. And so I want to encourage you as parents, when you have time at the table, no phones at the table. We also have no phones in the bedroom. You're not FaceTiming people and bringing them into the most intimate part of your world, which is your bedroom. No FaceTiming, no phones upstairs in your bedroom. Leave all the phones downstairs. No phones are going upstairs. And then even having a cell phone Sabbath, where we have a day where we're not on our phones. This is something that I want to encourage everybody to try. Take a day where we're just going to engage. We're going to verbally communicate. We're going to talk. We're going to laugh. Maybe we're going to do the talking point cards as a family. We're going to engage those. We're going to ask questions. We're going to spend more time together as a family. And I'll talk more about that later, but this is something we've got to do. We don't have individual passwords. We have a family password, and anybody can use anybody's phone at any time. When we first got phones, what we modeled to our children, was privacy. This is my phone. You can't have my phone. Hey, that's dad's phone. Don't touch dad's phone. Hey, this is mom's phone. Don't touch my phone. But what we wanted from our children was transparency. We can't model privacy and then want transparency. Children are terrible at doing what you ask them to do, but they're amazing at doing what they see you do. So we've got to model transparency. You can see my internet history. You can see this. You can see what I'm looking at here. Yeah, go ahead and look at that, because we're modeling transparency. And if you want your children to have a heart of transparency, and trust me, if you're going to give them a cell phone, you want transparency, then that's something that we're going to have to model. I want to give you guys a little bit of stats that were really concerning, and talking about screen time and the technology use in children. When it talks about global growth, children increase their screen time by 2 hours a day during the COVID pandemic. It increased 2 hours a day. When it comes to early exposure, this is a great statistic from the American Academy of Pediatrics. It says that they don't recommend any screen time for a child under 18 months, but 50% of children under 2 years of age are on mobile devices, averaging 2 hours of screen time a day. 2 hours a day, and they're 2 years old, despite the Academy of Pediatrics saying no screen time for children under 18 months. And this is something we've got to look at here, parents. This is something we've got to really take seriously when it comes to these statistics. A couple more stats here. Parental guilt. 72% of parents believe their own screen time negatively affects their relationships with their children, and 50% report feeling guilty about poor management of their own screen time. Dinner disruptions, 50% of families have screens present at the dinner table. Like I said, we're alone together, reducing meaningful conversations in family meals. This is from Tech Free Family Habits, a pediatric journal. Parenting challenges. 38% of parents say that their children's screen time influences their parenting decisions, particularly around enforcing limits. It becomes very addictive. I mean, the people who made these apps did a good job. It becomes very addictive, even for us. Education and learning. Homework distractions. 62% of teens admit their smartphones distract them during homework, leading to lower grades and productivity. And this is from Computers and Human Behavior. Recommendations for healthy screen time. Children 2 to 5 years limit 1 hour a day. Children 6 years and up set consistent limits to ensure screen time doesn't interfere with sleep, physical activity, or homework. Teens encourage no screen time during meals or family time or 1 hour before bed, and promote better relationships and sleep hygiene. This is very important. And even when it comes to physical impacts, eye strain. I thought this was interesting. On average, people blink 18 times per minute, but when you're on your phone, it slows down to 5 to 7 times per minute. It slows down activity decline. When I was a kid, get up and go outside, take off your school clothes and put on your play clothes, and your play clothes were school clothes you had outgrown. And, don't fall in your school clothes. These are your school pants. Don't create a hole in those. But now kids just sit at home and they're just on their phones constant. And the biggest one of all, mental health and social development, cyberbullying. 59% of teens have experienced cyberbullying. When you were bullied in school, when I grew up, it was the room. When you left the room, the bullying stopped. But now these kids are being bullied. If you Google right now, number one issue facing teens in America, it's cyberbullying. The suicide rate is skyrocketing amongst teenagers. It's one of the leading causes of death amongst teenagers. And side note, did you know that if a teenager has a healthy relationship with their grandparent, it really lowers the rate of suicide amongst teenagers? Why? Because grandparents are unconditional love. Unconditional love. That's why when we get them back from the grandparents, we have to re-educate them. Right? Because grandparents are unconditional love. So maybe our kids don't need more medication. Maybe what they need is a healthy relationship with their grandparent. Because a healthy relationship with a grandparent could possibly do more to save your child's life than anything. And my wife and I are very big on getting our kids around their grandparents so that they can experience, especially our teenagers, so that they can experience the unconditional love of a grandparent. Grandparents are huge. I'll talk more about that at a later point. But it talks about social skills. 40% of children who spend more than 3 hours daily on screens show lower development and empathy and social understanding. American Journal of Play. Screen addiction up 40% in teens, especially anxiety or distress when separated from their phone. Journal of Behavior and Addictions. So when it comes to cell phones, we all know this. We all know that comparison on our phones. Look at the way they look. Look at the way their family is. Look at their marriage. They're on dates. People lie on social media. People manipulate everything on social media. People don't post the truth. They post Tuesday night date night. They don't post Friday night fight night. They don't tell you everything about their family. They show you snippets and little things. And you think, why aren't we more like them? Or why can't my kids be more like this one? Or why can't my kids be more like that one? And then our kids grow up and they're left in this comparison, and we're on our phones constantly. And, you think it's not costing you, but it's costing you severely. Let's just say you made $25 an hour and you're on your favorite social media app 3 hours a day. Okay. If you're on your favorite social media app 3 hours a day and you make $25 an hour times 30 days, that's $2,250 a month that you're paying for your favorite social media app. The reason the app was free when you downloaded it is because you're paying for it with your life. You are the product they sell, and you're on it You think, oh, I'm on it for free, but you wouldn't pay $2,000, $3,000. Some of you make way more than $25 an hour. Some of you are paying $10,000 an hour to be on that app. You're paying more than that to be on those social media platforms. Now, you wouldn't put your credit card down for $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, but you are, because you're paying for it with your life. And when it comes to teenagers, we have to model this to them. We have to say, hey, no phones at the table. We're not trying to ban technology from our children. We're trying to prepare our children for technology. And this is why my wife and I developed Cell Phone Permit. And it's really driver's ed for the digital age. And I think there's a lot of great Big Brother apps that are like, I caught you. But have you ever caught your kids on a device and looking at something they shouldn't be looking at? I remember we gave one of my children an iPad. They were fairly young. I think at the time they were like maybe 11 years old. And they wanted to look at Halloween costumes. And so they picked their character. I think at the time it was Spider-Man, and just Spider-Man Halloween costumes. And literally within 3 clicks, they were on porn. 3 clicks from Spider-Man costumes, they're in pornography. That's how fast it happens. That's how quick it happens. And we have to put safeguards up. So by all means, all the devices that have the safeguards do it. But Cell Phone Permit puts it in the heart of your student, in the mind of your student, why not to do this. So it talks about cyberbullying. If I'm being cyberbullied, what do? If I have a friend that's being cyberbullied, what do I do? Are you 100% sure your child knows what to do if they get text an inappropriate picture of another student? Because if they send it to another student, that could be trafficking child porn, which could be a felony. And most parents don't realize that until attorneys are involved. Are you 100% sure? What have you done? Most parents are giving a phone to a child that they spent $1,500 on, $1,000 on, $500 on, and they're not even having a 5-minute conversation with their student. They're saying, don't do something stupid. They're going to do something stupid. If we don't educate them, in the state of Minnesota, I think it takes 36 hours to get a driver's license. 36 hours before they trust you to get behind the wheel. We're not having a 36-minute conversation with our students when it comes to a phone. And we're just like, here, take this. And this is what they're spending 8 to 9 hours a day on. You're going to give your student a phone, and they're going to be on it 7, 8, 9 hours a day, and you're not even going to take 1 hour to educate them. And some people are like, well, I have all these, safeguards, and I have all these things on there. It's not just that. It's getting in their heart why not to look at certain things. Getting in their heart, how do I manage my own screen time so I don't get into addiction on this? How do I handle if I have a friend that's being bullied, if I'm being bullied? How do I handle from selfie dysmorphia, sextortion, where somebody poses as a student and they get your student to send inappropriate pictures and then they blackmail them for money. We had a student commit suicide here in our state not too long ago over sextortion, over a picture that he had sent, and they were blackmailing him for money. He didn't know how to handle it, so he took his own life. We've got to do better than this, parents. We've got to do better at this. We've got to talk to our children. And I get what it's like to work all day and you just want to come home and have a moment's peace. And my wife's like, I just want to go to the bathroom without somebody following me and putting their fingers under the door. I just want a moment's peace, because kids want to own your soul. I just want a moment where I'm alone with my wife. And, because kids stands for keeping intimacy at a distance successfully. I get it. And every time I walk in my house, I literally feel like I have to hold a press conference. All the questions. Yes, Nicholas. No, we're not doing that. Yes, Alexander. No, we're not eating that. Yes, Liliana, come back to me tomorrow. Yes, Victor, I answered that yesterday. I literally have to hold a press conference. But the days are long, but the years are short. And our children are never a burden. They are a blessing, and God gave them to us. They are a gift from God. And I want to encourage you, especially as we get closer to, Christmas and all the things that are happening and your kids' birthdays, or it's the new year, and we're like, oh, we're going to give them a phone, or I'm getting the new phone, I'm going to give them my old phone. I want to encourage you to get Cell Phone Permit. And this is a course that my wife and I developed. And we did this because we were in the same boat that a lot of you parents are in, that we had the certain protections on there, and we had certain Big Brother apps, but we wanted it to get in the heart of our student how to use a cell phone in a safe and a secure way. And so this is a a course. It's a video course, and it's available on desktop. It's available on our app on Apple and Android. So it's available on all the app platforms, and it's $15 a month, and it is no contract. You can cancel anytime. And it's really like driver's ed for cell phones. And I will encourage you, take your child through this course and get them their cell phone permit. And just like a driver's permit, you do it with a parent. You don't just get a license, you get a permit first, and you learn to drive with a parent. And this is what we're asking parents to do with their student. You trust mom and dad with all of the passwords. You learn to do this with your parents. You don't just get phone and access to everything. We start with phone. You do well with that. Now you get text. Now you do well with that. Now we get internet. Now you do well with that. Now we get certain apps. And we still don't recommend social media apps. But it's not just a blanket at first. You have to build the trust. And if you break the trust, you have to go back and re-educate. You don't just get your phone back. Most parents, when their kids break what they're supposed to do, they just take the phone away for a day and then give it right back. That's not a plan. We've got to educate our children. And so imagine if every time you got a speeding ticket, you had to go take driver's ed and you couldn't get your driver's license back till you took driver's ed. Wouldn't we slow down a little bit? Wouldn't we, because there's a greater consequence, wouldn't we do a better job? And so we're constantly adding new videos to this and keeping up with all the different trends and challenges and social challenges that are facing our students. But this is something that my wife and I developed to help parents in this journey because we were in the same boat as you. So I want to encourage you today, go to cellphonepermit.com or go on the App Store, download the app today, and let's educate our kids on how to use a cell phone in a safe and secure way and make sure that everyone in our family is cell phone safe. Thanks for tuning in today, and I hope this was a win for you. Please subscribe, share this with a parent that you know that this could be a blessing to. And remember, you're a good mom, you're a good dad. We'll see you real soon. Thanks for joining us today on the Home Team Podcast. And if this was a win for you, we'd love you to subscribe and please leave a comment. And for all of our products and resources, we want to encourage you to go to jointhehometeam.com. Remember, you're a good mom, you're a good dad. You're doing better than you think you are. And winning begins at home.